Hello, I'm Liam, and to match the subject of today's video, the TR-1000, I've made a sequencer transcription starter with 10 techno-inspired rhythms that you could really use for any sequencer, and you can grab that as a Patreon member. If you're not really into the subscription thing, you could just outright buy it for $3. So this is obviously a huge release for Roland. I think it's been 40 plus years now since they've released an analog drum machine. So here we are with the TR-1000. I will say right off the top, especially if you're not familiar with the TR workflow like the TR-8S, the TR-6S, there's a big learning curve to the TR-1000, like just in terms of the sheer amount that this thing can do and navigation as well. We'll be going through all of this. So here is my first impression. Strap yourselves in because there's quite a bit to go through here. I'm definitely someone who likes to draw distinctions and make comparisons with other pieces of gear that I'm familiar with. The TR-1000 to me is a mixture of, among other things, several Roland instruments. So instruments like, of course, the TR-8S, which I've covered extensively on this channel, or even the TR-8, the TR-6S. You have a very similar layout, so you've got the faders as well as the knob control per channel. Although there's more knobs for the first 4 voices here than on the TR-8S, so that's just more control. You've got ACB technology for all of your Roland drum sounds on the TR-8S as well as the 6S. Same thing here. There's a ton of FM options here as well, so if we go to folder FM, and then we could scroll down through this. These are our FM options. And this is, again, where these extra controls come in really handy with these types of sounds. There's reverb and delay up here, which act as effect sends per channel. So let's say shift mixer. We're currently on the bass drum. Let's just max it out to show you an example here. Tons of reverb. And then we have our delay sends as well. So let's put this on something maybe a little bit more conventional. We have like a snare thing happening here. So let's actually put it there. So reverb send, delay send. And we have a nice delay tail there if we want. You've got 10 individual audio outs in the back, so that's 1 per channel versus the TR-8S, which only has 6 audio outs with 11 voices. You can also use the TR-1000 as well as the 8S as audio interfaces. They both also make for excellent MIDI controllers for Ableton. We'll be looking into all of this in this video. Another thing I could say for sure is that by default, the TR-1000 sounds bigger than the TR-8S. That was one consistent criticism I had about the 8S, in particular with the lower sounds. I thought that they were sometimes a little bit thin. You had to treat them in a certain way to get them to sound bigger. That is not an issue with the TR-1000. You have so much more control and visual over your sounds compared to the 8S as well. Like just with this chain down here, gen, filter, amp, as well as effects. This little chain here is new and it gives you individual control over each voice or channel, whatever you want to call them. Like for example, on this kick here, I've added a saturator. Right now you're not hearing any drive, but I could just give it some of that drive. Bring that rumble down a bit. And then for the rumble, if you're wearing headphones, you're going to hear it, but I could, tune the rumble upwards. I have control over that. It's just very hands-on. With some other voices. And why not? Let's add another effects onto this channel here. I'm gonna hit enter and I can just very simply choose the effects that I want. Let's go with delay on this one. Something subtle. Right now the tempo sync is on and I have it set to 16th notes. I would never fully compare the TR-1000 to a DAW, but you're getting that sort of DAW control, especially with this chain, and also with the visual of the chain. Some other comparisons, it goes without saying that the TR-1000 draws influence from the TR-808 as well as the TR-909, which are both analog. You have all of those authentic analog sounds in the unit. I'm actually already hearing people say that the TR-1000 doesn't sound quite like, the original TR-808 or TR-909, in which case you're probably right, or maybe I should say half right, because every TR-808 and TR-909, even just individually, they sound different. That's actually one thing I'm wondering with the TR-1000 Are we going to be seeing the same thing with it? Are the analog sounds going to change over time? Another analog unit that they included with the TR-1000. Let's hit play. Right now we have our analog effects, which is turned on slightly. We're at about 25%. Let's turn it off. It's a slight difference. Let's bring the volume of all this down. And you just have that such a nice sounding analog drive. It sounds amazing. Oh my God. Filter. So right now we're set to a high pass filter, but of course you could shift edit this. We could change to low pass if we want, in which case we're going in the opposite direction. We could change the amount of drive here as well. Right. There's also resonance for the filter. It kind of reminds me of the SP404 Mark II filter. And let's actually make that comparison with the TR-1000, the SP404 Mark II, which is known for sampling, chopping samples, resampling, and maybe even performing using multi-effects, all within the standalone unit. It actually goes even further than that. It has a DJ mode. There's multiple buses that you could use for your multi-effects, which enhances how you could perform with it as well. It also has a very solid step sequencer, so it's useful for genres that are dependent on sequencers like techno. All that to say, the TR-1000 has essentially adopted that sample chopping precision that the 404 has. And you can incorporate that workflow into the sequencer. The sampling aspect of the TR-1000 definitely goes pretty deep, and it's something I'll be focusing a little bit more on in a future video. As I mentioned, the SP404 has really interesting and unique multi-effects. So shift, let's edit this up here. We're gonna hit enter, and we actually have access to a bunch of the multi-effects from the 404. So things like DJ effects looper. This is definitely like the most overused multi-effects on the SP404 for like lo-fi types of music. It might not work so well for techno, but it's there. There's also an isolator, which is pretty straightforward if I want to just like get all the mids there. This is another 404 thing. And there's the scatter function, which is very fun too. Let's give it like maybe a bit less intense scatter. Right, so these could be just like fun things to experiment with and to use live. Or if you want a master effects that kind of just sits there and does its thing, you don't need to change anything on it. Crusher, maybe a slight crush. Right, so that's kind of doing its thing in the background. Kind of cool. Another instrument that's outside the Roland sphere that's influenced the TR-1000 clearly is the Octatrack, specifically with this morph crossfader here. Dialing in a morph setting that sounds good definitely takes some time. I feel like that's, again, another video to focus on. So if we actually go back to this first pattern that's default here on the TR-1000, and if we play around with the morph function here, I'm going to turn this on and it's doing all these things. Let's add actually some more elements to this, just a full thing, full track. So clearly useful for a live setting, and also like the Octatrack, if I hit shift edit on morph here, you could see that the step sequencer just changed. So what I just played with, the morph I just showed you on this particular preset pattern, that's just one. You could save up to 16 morphs per kit. This, to me, this concept is very Octatrack-arian. Let's go to back to my pattern. I'm gonna show you how easy it is to actually set it up. So if I hit shift morph, and then whatever track that I'm on, it'll show you what you wanna morph on that particular track. And by the way, if at this point you're like, I think I want to pick up a TR-1000, consider using the affiliate links in the description of this video. It's a huge support to this channel, and it doesn't cost you a penny extra. So we just compared to the Octatrack, continuing on with some comparisons here. And this actually might be where people really want to hear my opinion on this. I've become super familiar with Elektron sequencers, and I'm really someone who likes to sculpt and param lock things within my sequences. With Elektron sequencers, there's seemingly no limit. Like, you could param lock any parameter to any step on any channel, as many parameters as you want, like it's infinite. Whereas the TR workflow, it's never really tried to be that. It's just a different experience. It's always felt a bit more live, like especially with the motion record. And even going back to the TR-800, there was actually like a rhythm tap button that you could use as well, which made it feel even more live. All that being said, Roland has stepped a bigger foot into the param lock Elektron sort of workflow that I'm super familiar with. So some new things that you could do with these hi-hats, let's say. I could pull each of these hi-hats, let's say, pull this one back, push this one forward, pull this one back, push this one way forward. I could pull everything off the grid. It's gonna sound a bit wonky right now, but just to give you an idea, I could also change the velocity per step as well. On this first page, they've also added this cycle, which to me is the best. I actually use that on this hand clap here. So as you can see, I've set the cycle to 4. So this is the equivalent of trig parameters with the Elektron workflow, essentially the exact same thing. So this means that this step will only play the fourth of 4 times, and I could go as far as 8 times if I want. The reason why I personally really like this addition is because it gives you the option of not having to use the variations, which are sometimes a little bit harder to keep track of, especially if you're doing like more complex patterns. I like this because it's simple. I could always see the playhead, and at the same time, I still have 8 bars of variation. So that is the first page of param locking. The second page allows you to param lock different things. So in this case, I'm on this voice, which happens to be like a CR78 snared, and I could change, let's say, the tuning on this one. And then of course, the channels that have more parameters to param lock, like let's say on the bass drum, like this note here, now I just have that many more controls to param lock. So by default, I'm going to focus on this note here, this like woo sort of note that's happening, and I'm going to change these controls here. I'm actually not even certain what these controls are changing. So if I want to, I could go knob assign. This is the track that I want to control, and I could select here what parameters control 1, 2, and 3 are controlling. I'll change this first one to something that's easy to notice. In this case, I changed it to reverb mix. So we have this particular note here. Let's max out the reverb on this one. And then on this one, have no reverb. Right, so you just have that extra param lock control. So it's similar to the Elektron param lock workflow, except you have to figure out what your template is. I've done a whole extensive video on the TR-800 and how well it integrates with Ableton. That same video or same principle can be applied to the TR-1000. It shows up as an audio interface in Ableton, so that's convenient. In the case of these 2 last tracks, these are actually controlling the volume of 2 tracks in Ableton, as you can see here. And on top of that, I have 3 effect sends that are coming from Ableton. So these are CC'd to Ableton effects, reverb and delay. Right, so I kind of just like that there's 2 separate systems. Like this is controlling just the Ableton effects, and then I have a whole other effect system that's happening here. Some more thoughts on how I picture using the TR-1000 in the future. Clearly, it's an awesome drum machine, but it's a lot more than just a drum machine. I've been dedicating a lot of my time to learning Ableton because to me, it's clearly the strongest tool for making music, especially like beat centric music like this, techno. I also tend to like mixing hardware along with software, so I'm always going to be finding new ways of using the TR-1000, probably mostly as a drum machine along with Ableton. I also have the SSL Big 6 mixer, which can act as an audio interface as well as a mixer at the same time. So these 3 together, TR-1000, SSL Big 6, Ableton, that's just a killer combo. And about future updates, of course, Roland is going to be on top of updating the TR-1000 a bunch. To me, there's still something kind of timeless and classic about the TR-909 and TR-808. That's what you get. It's an awesome machine. That's it. And it's obviously not going to change. With the TR-1000, with future updates, it could change into something completely different. I have a sense that Roland is on top of like forums and things like that, and they take into consideration requests or suggestions that keep coming up. Like, I feel like they're a company that really listens to their audience. So that's a big video. That's a lot to digest. I'll leave you guys with that today. And yeah, hopefully see you in the next video.